Sound speeds. And streamers, I want to thank you for actually watching this video because I understand that most of the time you don't even think about sound. You're trying to think about multiple cameras. You might be thinking about the content of games or whatever you're playing. But the fact of the matter is, if your audience can't hear you properly, they're not going to be able to follow what you're doing. And there's a connection that is built through speech into your microphone. Now, quite often, one of the things that I see a lot of streamers do is have the microphone sitting in front of them as if it's a character that's next to them and they're doing an interview or including them in the show somehow. Now, that is not the way necessarily that you need to be doing this. You can, by doing a couple of little bitty modifications, make your sound still sound great, but give you a lot more versatility. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of speaking with my hands, but I'm having to be very aware of where the microphone is so that way I don't hit it like you just see me touching the microphone all over the place. But if I were to change over to my computer, suddenly I'm off axis. You're no longer able to hear my microphone because I have not brought it around in front of me. And quite often you will see a microphone in the frame like what you're seeing it in right now. It's directly in front of me. It's obscuring me and you're not able to see me and all of me anymore. Now, granted, it may still sound good, but one of the mistakes I sometimes see streamers do is they will have their chat on a monitor that is not anywhere close to their microphone. So they start to sound distant, which is called off axis in the world of sound. And if I am talking this way to look at chat or looking up here is probably better, then you're not able to connect nearly as well with your audience. As opposed to if I am playing a game this way, if I were to put my chat monitor over here, that way the camera is actually coming in line with me still and is splitting the difference in my face, and the microphone is coming from the camera perspective. That's something that's going to help you. Number two, get the microphone out of your frame. I understand you want to get it close. You can do what a lot of people do and put it very close to your mouth. And by doing this, you're going to be able to hear the keyboard and the mouse a lot lower. So if you're doing a lot of keys and you're using keystrokes and you're using very loud moves, then I understand. It's going to be something that you're going to want to try to reduce the sound of your keyboard. But the problem is, as soon as you do something like this, again, the camera is now able to see everything and you are being blocked by your microphone. That's not obviously a good approach. If you ever watch late night television shows, they put the microphone very low and away and you'll sound a little bit more distant. Now, granted, there's a trade-off. By getting the microphone closer, you're able to get a more intimate sound. You're able to get what's called your signal to noise ratio up, where your signal is much higher than your background noise. And in the case of gaming, all the keystrokes and the mouse work that you're doing is going to be your work. And in a late night show, you don't have to have the microphone close because you're not doing anything like that. Like this is the keyboard and mouse is going to be much louder now. So you may want to have the microphone closer, but there's also a few things you can do to get the microphone closer and not have it be in front of the camera and obstructing the audience's view of you. Because remember, if you're on stream, you're the star of the show. This isn't like a movie where people will watch a movie and they see the stars of the show and you're trying to keep everything out of frame. But in a movie, what do? They overhead mic for the sound. So instead of having the microphone coming up from underneath, where the closest thing to the microphone is going to be your chest cavity and the desk, try this on for size. Try raising up your microphone so that way it is coming in perhaps sideways. Like right now, I'm going to try to get this position just right so it's actually coming in from the side. Now, this may seem pretty good up front because if I'm looking this direction, well, it's going to pick me up just fine, but now it's obstructing my view of the computer monitor. I can't see the computer anymore. Well, that's because what you might want to try to do is kind of like what they do in the movie industry. Overhead microphone yourself, over mic yourself. So as opposed to coming up from underneath where I'm now having to deal with the microphone in front of me, where all of my motions and actions and everything is right here. Instead of that, I will not block my view to the monitor, which is from my eyes directly here, but I'm still able to interact here. I'm able to see the chat over there if I want to, but also I'm going to point out one more thing to you. As you move your head, one of the things you do when you're on camera is don't just turn your head completely off axis to your microphone. Keep your mouth right here in the sweet spot of the microphone and shift your head so that way it pivots around your mouth. So that way you want to keep your sound consistent for your audience, but at the same time still allow yourself to look both directions. So if my monitor is over there for the chat and I need to interact with the audience, I'd say, okay, so here I am on the computer, and then all of a sudden I'm looking over here, and now I'm looking over here, and now I'm looking over here. So as I move my head, I am actually shifting ever so slightly so that way I still stay in the pattern of the microphone. And most microphones are going to be wide enough, allowing you to do little head moves, which means that you might have to look a little bit more with your eyes than with your entire head, turning your entire head full square to the monitors. That's not going to be helping your audience to see you. But keep in mind that it's just like anything else. When you watch a movie or a TV show, things have to make sense. The eye direction has to make sense. Your audience is watching you. You're the star of the show. They have to see you. They have to hear you. You have to interact with them. And when you do all of that, things have to be a little bit different than what would be considered the easy way. So instead of having a microphone in front of me where anything I do could have hit it, now it's up and out of my face. It's above me. It's way up here. And now that if I turn all the way to this camera over here, I'm off axis because I'm now looking completely to the side. But this camera over here is able to see me just fine and hear me just fine. So if I am playing a game, I want to position the microphone right here where I can see the microphone is basically in my eye line, is what we refer to it in the film industry, when you have something that the actors can see that's in the eye line. But this microphone is actually angled at about a 45-degree angle towards me. The reason why is because if I'm talking straight to the monitor and I look up at the chat monitor, if it's over there, if I look over there, if I look over there, and if I don't even want to do this kind of thing because I'm farther enough away from the microphone that it's still able to pick me up without me having to shift my head. If I want to sound a little bit closer, then I'm going to bring it more close like this and angle it more down. And when I angle it more downwards, I can still keep it out of the frame if I want to. Actually, let me do that. I'll get it out of the frame. And I'm just going to overhead mic myself. So now the microphone could pick up a little bit more of my keyboard and my mouse because it's more on axis. It's more down the barrel of the microphone. So one of the things you can do is instead of having the microphone directly pointing downwards, angle it a little bit backwards so that it's actually miking more my forehead, the top of my forehead. So now by doing this, I'm still on mic, I'm still very close to the microphone, and it's going to actually help a little bit with the keyboard and keystrokes that I'm doing over here. You're not going to hear it nearly as much because also it's no longer close to the microphone, but the microphone is pointed away from it. Now it's pointed a little bit away from the sound, and it's farther away from the sound, which is going to help it to sound lower also. I can still interact with the audience this way and this way if I have the different cameras. And of course, this is training yourself to be on camera, just like actors go to school to learn how to be an actor. But I'm able to interact with the screen and see the screen. I'm able to do any motion I want to, including if I wanted to take a drink, if I wanted to eat, whatever I wanted to do, I'm on camera this way. You're able to see me, you're able to hear me, and everything looks and sounds great. So keep these things in mind because those are things that streamers can really take to get a better performance and a better interaction with their audience. Now that is sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.